Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Kahena vacha chittena pamadhine maya katang acchayam kamami bhante bhuri panye tathagate. Kahena vacha chittena pamadhine maya katang acchayam kamami dhamme sandittika akalika. Kayena vacha chittena pamadhine maya katang acchayam kamami sange supatipanne anuttere. Let us come to sit for our meditation practice. Taking a deep breath in, guiding your attention inwards, calming the mind and body, gently guiding your attention to be aware of the body seated here, with a posture conducive to the practice. Gently let us determine to be with the practice, to guide our undivided attention towards the cultivation of the path. Gently relaxing the muscles all across the body. Let us take some time to cultivate the practice of loving kindness, metta, towards this mind and body, and toward all beings in samsara. Let us start by establishing focus, attention, and presence within this very moment, with no expectation, without any selfish intention. Let us cultivate that which is selfless. May this body be well and happy. May this body be well and happy. May this mind be well and happy. Free from insecurity, free of anger, free of any toxicity. May this mind and body experience peace, tranquility, being within the present moment. Think of this body as a tool, an instrument that enables us to do all that we do. And just like any instrument or tool, we must take care of it. Just so, let this moment be a moment for the cultivation of loving kindness towards this instrument of mind and body. Sharing this time with all meditators here. Let us collectively radiate loving kindness towards this mind and body, Nama Rupa. May this mind and body be well and happy. Be well and happy. Be well and happy. Be well and happy. And as we do wish this mind and body the best of all possible outcome, well wishes, care, compassion, with the same sense of loving kindness, we accept the reality of the mind and body, that these instruments are perishable with use, with time, with condition. And as we accept this reality of these instruments, acknowledging the strengths and weaknesses of the mind and body, we cultivate loving kindness unconditionally, without expecting anything in return. May this mind and body be well and happy. Be well and happy. Be well and happy. Gently, 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 guiding one's attention to the external factors, to all the people, known and unknown, that we associate, those that we may like, and those that we may dislike, and to those who we do neither like or dislike, all being, acknowledging the nature of our own mind and body, with all its strengths and weaknesses, in accepting, in being kind to our own strengths and weaknesses, we issue the same to all other beings wandering in samsara, going through the same spurs of life, happiness, suffering, pain, grief, all emotions and consciousnesses that arise within this very mind with similar condition of greed, hatred, delusion, non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion, all being seek love, peace, freedom, seeks opportunity to alleviate suffering. Knowing this human condition, let us guide our attention to radiate profound vibrations of loving kindness to all being, to all life. May all beings be well and happy. May all beings be well and happy. May all beings Be well and happy. Free of anger. Free of ill will. May their lives be saturated with vision and presence. May all beings be well and happy. May all beings be well and happy. May all beings be well and happy. Adverting one's mind to those near and to those who are far away, whether known or unknown, those who may be going through immense suffering beyond their control, living in conditions of suffering. May the strength of our collective loving kindness bring ease to the minds of those who suffer. May their condition, may all unwholesome conditions comes to cease. May wholesome condition come to arise. May all being be free from suffering. Mental and physical. Let us determine with every breath that I inhale and exhale. May all being be well and happy. May all be well and happy. May all being be well and happy. Let us guide our attention toward to all possibilities of life, of beings all across the world. within this plane of existence and beyond, to all being who may be experiencing the results of unwholesome thought, living with anxiety, living with insecurity, living with doubt, being living in the turmoil of this frantic world, recognizing the pain that one experiences on one's own when such thought prevails in the mind, connecting to that truth. Let us wish for all being to be free of this burden of Ioniso Mansikara, wrong thought leading to unwholesome states of mind and body. Through the power of our collective loving kindness, inspired by the boundless loving kindness of all Buddhas, may all being experience a peace of a mind that is settled. May all being have the strength to cultivate wholesome states of mind, to let go of those things that are unskillful. May all being be well and happy. Be well and happy. Be well and happy. Gently, gently. Imagine that one is like a little sun. As we cultivate loving kindness, as the mind is cleansed and healed of any negativity, the rays and brilliant light of the sun shines in all directions without any bias. to all being, to all conditioned life, to all those just like I am, experience struggle and hardship and happiness. May all being be touched by the unsurmounting light and brilliance of the radiating loving kindness. Imagine as you continue to radiate loving kindness in all directions to touch all being, human, deity, Brahma, down to those in the lowest realms of hell, the woeful plane, the animal, on land and in sea. Let us radiate, inspired by the boundless nature of the Buddha's wisdom and compassion, without any reservation. May the light of this radiance shine bright to touch all beings down to the bone. May all beings be well and happy. May all beings be well and happy. May all beings be well and happy. May all qualm subside. May all anger be put out. May all craving find an end. May the mind and body heal of all that is unwholesome and toxic. May we embrace understanding, love, care, sympathetic joy, compassion, in all directions. The mind radiant and light, unhindered by wrong thought. Let us now gently guide our attention to observe the sensation starting from the tips of the toes. Let us sweep through the body to observe the nature of these sensations that arise and cease. Practicing letting go throughout as we choose not to cling to anything that is observed or experienced, knowing the transient nature of all phenomena within the mind and the body. We do not react, cling, but simply be in a state of presence, observing, aware, like a great mountain does not react to everything that happens on its land. It simply exists, being a mountain. Just so, let us be in the practice, observing the nature of these sensations without clinging, noting the sensations to be pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Let us observe as a time of silent practice. Let us observe the sensation. Observe ardently, with right effort, balancing the faculty whenever necessary. We observe the sensation sweeping through the tips of the toes up to the topmost part of the head, sweeping upward, downward, upward, downward. Practice, practice. gently guiding one's attention to recollect the aspects of the meditation practice, to learn wherever possible on how to balance the mind further, to acknowledge the heavy hindrances which might be present, gently, gently recollect the aspects of the practice with wise attention. Observe, observe, the near enemy of loving kindness is ill will, anger, hatred. Observe the nuances of anger, the dosa, mula chitta, that arises within the mind, hindering loving kindness in this moment. Gently, 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 with wise attention, observe deeply when you are ready. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, everyone. I hope you made full use of that session of meditation, of with the loving kindness and with the support of loving kindness and a mind that is steeped and seasoned in loving kindness. Through the initial meditation, the observance of the sensations, we know that the practice of loving kindness is one that is often is a practice that we start or a practice that we often do may, in the mornings, in evenings, where we relate this aspect of unconditional loving kindness towards all beings. It is difficult to sometimes practice loving kindness when the hindrance of dosa is rampant in our minds. That is where, if one feels that loving kindness as a practice may be a bit tiring, may be a bit tiring, there, if one looks at the mind and to see what are the aspects that reject or come to clash with loving kindness, where it doesn't allow that loving kindness to grow and to sort of bloom into the beautiful flower like um, status that it can come to. The Buddha says that when one practices loving kindness, that the body, this body experiences a change. mm, the odor of the body, the radiance of the skin, the vibrations or this aura like feel that we sometimes see of people. Uh, when we practice loving kindness, we often experience these changes. Now, in your meditation, what are the experiences or maybe hindrances, even the thoughts, self deprecating thoughts, unwise attention that one may have experienced? But at the same time, I would also like to hear of the positive experiences of lightness, of what the aspect or essence of metta may have brought to you. Hmm? Would anyone like to share may, their experiences with loving kindness? And
Bhante, excuse me. I think I can share something.
okay, Sujata.
It is unusual or not, I don't know,
Mhm.
because he told, I mean, that is a general way to radiate kindness to at least to everybody, even the people with whom you have no connection or angry, or you say, or people whom you hate. But
Mm,
I was scanning my brain to see whether I have anyone whom I hate. I don't think I hate anybody.
mm,
Actually, I can't say anything. Maybe people can hate me,
mm,
but I don't hate anybody in the world as far as I can recall.
mm.
Maybe I think I'm right in that, Bhante. because I
That
make
won't
friends
sound
quickly and I
bad.
don't fall off with them.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. May the sense of now, I can relate to that, Sujata. You might
Yeah.
have, there might be negative encumbrances that may arise in our life, and there might be very challenging persons that we have to deal with on a day to day, or, maybe
Mm,
not even, right? But we as practitioners, I think our focus always remains on the fact of letting go. Our focus remains on the fact of being able to nurture a mind steeped in peace and tranquility, and we try to as much as possible. Yes, of course, we do trip and fall, but as much as possible, we
mm,
try to bring ourselves into a place where we do not harbor such ill will in our minds,
mm,
because we know that it is inherently a burden, isn't it?
mm,
A burden to carry. Hatred is a big burden to carry.
mm,
It
mm,
is not something that is very complementary to our system.
mm.
And maybe, maybe in the terms of you having no hate at this moment in time, absolutely, that can very well be true.
Yeah, I think
But,
so.
okay. And in acknowledging that, we also acknowledge the potential, right? Then, can I say, right? Can I say, or can any being say, if they are not completely, let us say, enlightened,
Mm,
right? Can any being say that I am not a person who hates, and I never hate? Now, according to the Buddha,
mm.
that hatred can take object, but we might not hang on to that,
Yeah, maybe,
right?
yes.
We might not hang on to that. Whilst acknowledging, I don't have enemies.
Yes.
However, so that is a very good stance, a
Mm,
place to be. Then I don't have thoughts of harm that arise within me. That's a deeper state, isn't it? Now, it is one to not have enemies, but not having harmful thoughts
about
is
that.
even more difficult, isn't it? Huh?
Mm,
Yes, you don't hold on to, you don't have anyone that you have as a permanent enemy. But with the arising of the dosa chitta, the arising of the dosa chitta, the hatred consciousness is curtailed by the practice of loving kindness. And I think our sometimes lifelong mission remains as a part of the practice in terms of loving kindness is to practice it to an extent where you just don't react with hate
mm,
and any level of hate and any level of hate.
mm.
And this could be the mere rolling of an eye, the eye rolling, rolling your
Mm,
eyes at someone, or something as subtle as that. And we know we might not mean a lot by it. It might be just a habitual thing that we do when we are
mm,
stressed out with something. But that too is the result of this dosa, this hatred consciousness.
mhm,
That is why we practice in a manner of with a practice with a understanding of the fact of now, even if when my mind is rattled, when my mind is all over the place, when my mind is feeling stressed and pressured, at these times we often can experience dosa rising. But this dosa, and it might seem all right or fair in a certain way because of the condition. But through the practice through the practice and the understanding that we derive from the Dhamma and the practice, we come to realize that this specific thing that hurt me was this hurt that I'm experiencing is a reflection of my own unwise attention. Mhm. Is a reflection of my own unwise attention.
Meaning, Bante,
Mhm. Meaning, for example, let us say you have an expectation over a person. Mhm. Now, this is your expectation. This person is not bound to live to every expectation that one has in the mind.
mm, yeah,
Now, when this expectation is not fulfilled, we often feel pain. We feel
yeah,
down. We feel strong emotions, maybe. Hmm?
mm,
And at that time, that strong emotion arises on the ground that something that I wanted in the way that I wanted it did not happen, did not take place.
yeah,
When the mind is aware and when the practitioner, the meditator, when we live with attention and sati, these sorts of nuanced reactions become more apparent to us because we have that sense of sati awareness. Mm. Whilst when sati arises, sati is aware.
mm,
Now, if I want to make it clear on the difference between thought and sati, here again, everyone. Thought is when you advert the mind towards that specific object,
yeah,
meaning
yes,
you
yes,
go and take that object. The mind takes that object, knocks against it, uh, like an arrow shot at a target. Hmm?
yeah,
That is thought. Sati is different to thought. How? Because sati is aware and it does not need to go and knock and grasp the object to know it, to hold it, hmm?
mm, mm,
To hold it, right? Think I wonder whether this might be a good example, which is um, if there is a cup, right? A mug or whatnot, and if it is held on a hand,
yeah,
right? Then you must hold the cup or a
mm,
mug, isn't it? If it's just on your hand, you must hold it.
yeah,
And then let us say it is this same cup, right?
mm,
And then there is the in holding the cup, this is vitak. Mm.
vitar,
In knowing that the cup is there, the mug is there, present, is sati. The awareness that the mug or the cup is there is awareness.
whatever the object that is we think of, that
Whatever
will be
object,
aware of it, not.
whatever object. Now, this is how everyone you might experience, or the question might come, how do we now, in navigating the mind, in meditating in your own practice, you might have observed this sort of hindrance has occurred, or this meditation is happening. It is not an hindrance, but you are able to observe, like a third party, something which is happening in this mind, isn't it? Huh?
Mm,
You're able to, and and it is like a storyline kind of playing out sometimes because you see it so vividly and you are so clear, and you see an object and you see a mind that is engaging with that object in whatever way, with right attention or wrong attention. And because you're in sati, when sati is present, you are aware about the object and the way that it is being observed as well. That is sati.
sati, it's
That is
difference.
sati. Mere, it does not go and grasp the object. It is aware of the object. Mhm. When the mind is aware of the object here, the nuances of where hatred or hindrances, encumbrances to metta may arise may start from the fact of non acceptance, the difficulty we have with accepting. The difficulty that we have in realizing that this is what is happening. Mm. This is what is happening. This is what is present. And in what is happening right here, right now, this is a conditioned process. It is a conditioned process. Because it is conditioned, just as we know. Now, rather than insinuating the conditions of another being, what we often do, what the Buddha teaches us is taking yourself as an example.
Yeah.
Attanang upamang katva. Uh, attanang upamang katva. That is, in observing, in knowing, in understanding the complex that is here, meaning my mind sways, my mind has the conditions of different hindrances, karma, chanda, vyapada. And as you observe this, you understand that we are not inertly perfect, isn't it? We are not perfect. That
Yeah.
we and these are conditions. In understanding that in understanding these conditions owing to yourself, you give the same to external. You give the same to that which is external, right? External. This, if a meditator is to look at it, then it then comes from knowledge that has been experienced by the meditator over their own mind. That is where the strength comes from. You don't need to understand another person, you only need to understand yourself. In understanding yourself, the hindrances that arise, the pain, the suffering that follows when unwise attention is present, that is where you find the peace, right?
Sure.
You, you realize that there is nothing to be agitated about, and that truly that person, just as, for example, the time that I lived without any attention or awareness, self awareness, insight, just so this person might also be going through the same,
Yeah.
regardless. On that ground, we choose non hate. On that ground, we choose, we through experience, we know that non hate provides us with a happier state of mind
That's
in
yes, Madhu.
order in order to continue with whatever it is that we are doing. Hmm?
Mm.
Now,
So,
do we have any other questions or any other thank you, Sujata, for asking that.
Can
Bhante.
I ask a question,
Now,
please,
yes,
Bante?
oh Hiranti, yes, yes.
When things like that happen,
Okay,
okay, what you are saying, I understand.
of course.
But,
Amarui.
oh, but the thing is, uh, I don't know how to say this, but it is, one has to be really very, very, high in the path in
Hmm.
order to have that type of
Of course,
compromise, really.
of course, of course.
Yeah, because
Hmm.
I find the basic need for
Hmm.
someone to understand
Sure,
another person's
sure.
feelings
Hmm.
and not to harm, not to even to a fly or a
Hmm.
ant is uh, uh, it's not asking a lot. As, so every moment it's a bit difficult to not to forgive. I mean, not to have that
Hmm.
attitude in
Hmm.
your own mind,
Hmm.
especially with family with family people.
Hmm. Of course.
So I don't know how far one will have to be,
Yeah,
how far
yeah.
in the path
Hmm.
in order to have that
Hmm.
compromise,
Hmm.
really.
Yeah,
Any
I
clues, please?
absolutely, Hirante. And that is why this dialogue is so important, because it is through discussing, and it is through discussing that, as I always say, that we find the answers to this. Because I do not believe that, just in a teacher or a person, or in reading, for example, the practice of ahang averu homi, may I be well and happy, uh, sukhiyatta nam pariharami, the Pali that the Buddha has talked about, which is the way that we cultivate or word this cultivation of loving kindness. This sense of loving kindness that arises, the I think truest support that you could give loving kindness, at least what has worked or what I use, um, is the fact of the goal, right? The goal, meaning, now, what is important to me? What is important to you? Okay,
Mm,
as long as the answer to that question is someone else, is something else, there will always be anger and the possibility of anger arising in us. As long as, now, this is not to say then our focus should be purely ourselves. No, that also sounds a little bit off, isn't it?
mm, mm.
That also sounds a bit off and not
Selfish, isn't it?
a bit. It sounds a little bit. It doesn't sound very dhammic, does it? Right? Now, here, the Buddha teaches us this essence of, why am I not going to, or what is the goal of my practice? The goal of my practice is to find peace, hmm?
Mm,
Is to find that sense of where the fires in my heart are quenched. There is no fire burning. Where I am able to, let us say, go to sleep peacefully. Go to sleep peacefully. If you have sleeping issues, if a lot of things are running through your mind, right? This is a meditation that truly does help. It lets you sleep. It allows you to sleep so beautifully, because you're able to understand and forgive things for the weaknesses that they might have, right? you
mm,
might have you might have a document in front of you that is not perfect, right? And a document that you need to change or edit. But this document that you need to change or edit, story of my life, that this document that you need to edit, to change, even the way that we look at this document, we will find the lack of metta. It is not only towards persons, and it is wholly dependent upon what you want, right?
mm,
If, let us say, the goal of this is to find peace, you need to prioritize that peace, right?
mm,
That peaceful state, that peaceful abiding. Okay.
mm,
When you do so, all the rest of the pieces will start falling into place, right? We often, in the Western approach, we might look at, okay, we might look at, change this, change this, change this, change this, change this, okay? The Buddha, as we know, talks about volition. Where does this start? It starts with a certain thought, a way of belief, a pattern of belief. We let go of that pattern of belief. For example, if let us say, when we respect the fact that another person has the ability to make their own decisions, like a child or a family member, They have that ability of making their own decisions. They have the ability of making their own mistakes, for example.
Mhm.
Then, because we often in protecting family, in wanting to protect family, we have a lot of those arising, isn't it? We want to protect family, but we protect to protect, you have to shout sometimes, you have to, go into arguments,
Mhm.
right? This is where we have to polish the goal. The goal. What is the goal? Huh?
Peace.
The goal is peace. The goal is peace. The goal is not having the mind burn with anger. But it burns,
Mhm.
doesn't it? Huh? Taraha.
Mhm.
It burns. And for not to experience that,
Yes, yes.
then all of the encumbrances that might arise, right? Of course, it's not going to be perfect. With that adjustment, we devote our time to practice loving kindness to this mind and body, to all external mind and body, in a manner where all of us, we live in influx. Neither,
Mhm.
right? Right at this very moment, you could get a call. And the moment you get a call, even when the phone starts ringing, there is an influx,
Mhm.
isn't it? And then we make mistakes, we do mistakes, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And we are sometimes unskillful.
Mhm.
And when that happens, the selflessness and also the compassion element here is recognizing the fact that we are not perfect. We don't have to be perfect, but we don't hold on to that anger either. From this practice, as we radiate it towards speech, how we speak to ourselves, how we speak to other people, this communication element is also pronounced in when the Buddha speaks about loving kindness. Communication element. How does one communicate one with one's own mind, and how does one communicate with another? Mhm. With another. Often we are nicer to people and less nicer to ourselves. Hmm?
Mhm.
We're neither.
Mhm.
We are often nicer to people and less nicer. Of course, the other way is also possible. Anything is possible, right?
Mhm.
But how do we adjust that in a manner where this loving kindness is working? That is, you devote every single day, you devote a time of practice to radiating loving kindness. When you're going in the tube, when you're walking to the tube, when you're going about your daily activities, when you're in the park for a walk or whatnot, with every I used to do um, with my walking meditation, I used to make a determination, which was the fact with every step that I take. May all beings that live dependent upon this ground be well and happy. Uh, so with every step, so you're doing your walking meditation, maybe not vipassana, but you're doing, enjoying your time with your walking meditation, practicing some sort of practice. And you're in this sort of sphere of loving kindness radiating from you towards all beings. Nothing anyone does to you or the mind does not produce the hatred element, the hatred condition cannot arise and come up. That is the goal. We learn to deal with things without hate, without that sense of hatred based vexation, right? And this, even in the practice of vipassana, when we do not progress as quick as we wish to progress, when we do not experience um, whatever experiences fast enough, when we are unable to settle our minds in the present, if the mind is all over the place, if we are unable to see the breath as it arises, during these moments, we choose to abide with loving kindness and understanding that we are not machines. That if the breath is not clear, we are not agitated, but we look at it in a more wise manner. Wise manner, isn't it? Where there are not too much of knots, where there are no knots, but it is a sense of clearly seeing. Clear seeing. Hmm? We have to keep on practicing this, especially with family. Especially with family. And it's, I think, because we are so attached, because we consider them ours, because we consider them a part and parcel of our lives. And I think, I am not sure, but I think when one lives in the within a nuclear family, right? Within a nuclear family, the original sort of family context, there is so much of obsession, isn't it? There's so much of obsession and dependency, which brings about this sense of hatred, anger, frustration, sadness, the feeling of being let down, or all of these emotions that could arise. Even, let us say, um, in these circumstances, when the mind is in metta, the mind is not independence of one or these group of people that are around, right? It is like a, a an animal that lives dependent upon the branches of a tree might feel comfortable on the branches of a tree. But this does not mean that the animal cannot be comfortable on the ground. But that animal chooses the branches as its home, within the leaves, hidden in the thick, sort of dense leaves that the tree might have. But does not mean that the earth, that the ground, that that animal can't get out of the tree and stand on the ground. But that animal, in calling the tree its home, lives dependent upon the tree. A yogi, a meditator, does not live dependent on anything or anyone. That is a position and place that I hope that we can all come to. I am not, this is as much for you, as much for me as it is for you, because we are all in the path and we all have to make stride. And the beautiful position or the beauty of the mind translate and radiate, shine so brilliantly when we are not in dependence of anyone. This is making Kianne. This does not mean people don't take it in a way where, the common statement that we often hear, I want to be independent, I want to be independent. This is not in the same manner. This lack of dependence does not arise from the need to be independent. Hari, do you understand? Does that make sense? Please let me know if it doesn't make sense or you don't agree as well. That's fine. May it doesn't arise from the need to be independent. It arises from the knowledge that no one truly can depend on anything. It depends, is founded on the base of understanding that however much we may consider this ours or that ours, that it is not truly ours. Uh, that however much that I might try to be a positive condition, right? That I might be a positive condition, like you might have a plant at your house that you take care of a lot because you really like that particular plant, right? But we also know, however much we take care of that plant, may an animal could come and pick at it, isn't it? Or a fungus, a different type of insect can come and destroy or cause harm to that. We know that. Mm. Metta loves you to really know it. Mm. If when we say we know it, we know that the plant that is outside sitting on my porch, some animal or snail or whatnot could come and disturb it. We know that. But when we do see it, does not mean that we do not get upset, isn't it? We do get a bit upset because, my dear plant, my dear plant. But see, it is because it is your dear plant that you get upset. Metta allows you to smoothen the mind in a manner where you understand for yourself through experience that these are not things that we can truly control. And even with the wish to control, we might be able to exercise a certain extent of it, but it doesn't wholly depend on you. Hence, the anger that I am receiving is a condition of many things. The anger that may have arisen within me is a condition of many things. Both of these things, both anger, are not dhammas that should be allowed to flourish because these dhammas cause us harm and grief, weakens us, weakens us. Because it does weaken you, then it obscures your sight and vision, obscures your sight and vision. When with samadhi, with a sense of letting go, our eyes come to open, vision is clear, reality is known, then the frustrations that often arise with things reduce. Then your family and whatnot, right? Whatever changes that there might be, whatever things that you want as results, we learn to maneuver them. We learn to maneuver them, but now not in dependence, but with a sense of spiritual independence, based off knowledge and understanding. Everyone, based off knowledge and understanding. Metta Bhavana done about 15 to 30 minutes or even more can bring significant results to the body and the mind. If you are struggling with any sense of anxiety, unsurety, right? If you are struggling with an issue, if you're struggling with a person, if you're struggling with a circumstance, practice metta. Have metta towards yourself, have metta towards this mind and body. Have metta towards the fact that these true instruments, the body and the mind, have been ever more supportive throughout this extent of life, and that this body is tired sometimes, his mind is tired. Giving that sense of loving kindness towards your mind and body allows you to heal and recuperate into strength. This strength is often needed by meditators because the path of vipassana practice can be tiresome. We may have seasons of practice or months of practice, durations of practice where we put in so much of effort, authentically, genuinely. But because of certain imbalances of the practice that we might not be aware of right now, we might not feel very happy with the results of our practice. This too can be an object of your loving kindness. The heavy burdens of expectation that we place upon the mind and the body. The expectation that the body must remain healthy is a very big burden that you place on yourself. The expectation that the mind has to always be astute with high energy and levels of happiness is also a heavy burden that one places on oneself, on one's system. Loving kindness allows you to then sort of let go of that burden or the pressure that you apply upon yourself, and to ease this burden in order to now not be agitated by all the things that have gone wrong, but rather being with gratitude for the things that are going right in this moment, which is a fact. If wrong attention arises, it causes pain. If right attention arises, it causes peace. The right attention at this moment, even if one is ailing, terribly ailing, but right attention arising again and again, again and again, again and again, where there is no wrong attention that arises, that is a position that no one can disturb that person. How beautiful. Hmm? No one can disturb that person, right? May I remember Venerable Nauni Aridamatero during his final couple of years, um, when he was sick, when he was going through several issues of health, he had a retinue of monks to look after him. Mhm. Obviously, because he was a father in the Sangha, isn't it? And so he had all these monks who took care of him. Um, Although there were so many, there was only one person, one monk who had direct access to him. Right now, we could help, but we couldn't hand anything to Aridhamma Swamin Wahanse. Right, we were not supposed to do that. Only one person was supposed to do that. That was um, his attendant monk. Hmm? So now in Swamin Wahanse, Venerable Aridhamma Bhante, he was most of the time, although because of his drugs, the medications that he was taking and the concoctions that he was taking, he was drowsy. Towards the He was drowsy often. He was drowsy. He would rest a lot, but he would also do his walking meditation, all of that. And there would be occasions where now in Ibante, of course, those of you who know, he's a monk you know, who can have any amount of monks tending to him. But I was observing these interactions that occurred between Venerable Nauni Aridamathero and his attendant monk. Hmm. Which were sometimes very difficult experiences for us junior monks to observe, right? For us junior monks to observe, it was very difficult sometimes to be an onlooker, mm? Because we hoped that the attendant would be a little bit more gentle, a little bit more kind, a little bit more compassionate, huh? And we did not see that, right? Hence, the junior monks did not like the attendant at all, right? But and At all, we did not like him that much because we it was difficult for us to see how he was treating our teacher sometimes, right? But Aridhamma Swamin Wahanse, Bhante Aridhamma, me Nayaka Swamin Wahanse, he had he did not react in any way. We used to react, he did not, right? For him, it wasn't even he was constantly with loving kindness, right? Constantly with whatever that arose or happened in those sort of, he was constantly with his practice, meaning to him, this attendant was not important. He had gratitude towards the attendant for sure, but the attendant wasn't the primary focus of his moment. That's the important thing. ඒ during this moment, what is important to you? to Venerable Aridhamma Swamin Wahanse. So when he's been fed this morsel of food, right? Obviously, he needs this. This is his only meal or last meal of the day, right? And we usually the monks would serve him. We used to do the ananafai. we what do you say? You mix it by hand, as the Asians do, make bowls of food, and bring it to Bante's mouth. And during this whole process, Bante's primary focus is not even the bowl of food, but it's the practice through which the food is consumed. Practice through which the food is consumed. Hence, those occasions where, let us say, the attendant would not be feeding him properly or might be trying to force another bowl of food into his mouth when there's still so much of food in his mouth, right? He did not react at all. He did not react at all. It was also very interesting to see Bante had a lot of discomfort getting up and in and out of his bed or his chair because of his hip issues, right? And when Bante would have to get up from bed, or for some reason, if a person had come, or if there was a monk who was waiting for meditation instructions and he would still be undergoing this, we have never heard him say, heard him say that complaining about having to get up to speak to this person, whether it be a monk or a lay person. He was always with his practice, meaning that was what was important to Bante. That was what was important to Bante. And I think, I don't think that this is the only thing that I could say, or anyone else, any other teacher could say, but I think this part plays a very important role. In this very moment, what is important to you? Neither. In this very moment, what is important to you? Right? Now, if the object of importance is something that is external, beyond your reach and control, then you're going to be unhappy a lot of the time. If the object of importance, priority is the practice, then your suffering, I'm not going to say that it is not going to be there, because suffering will be there to a certain extent, but it will be considerably far more manageable and bearable. Why? Because your focus is not control. So, everyone, I'm going to leave you with that today. And I know that a lot of our Kalyana Mitras, you might be going through, we are all, regardless of age, we are all going through strives of life, strides that we must make, efforts that we must make. And for you, for me, for you, metta is something that will bring a lot of peace to this body, to this mind, healing the body from inside and allowing us to live with the love and compassion that we need to see the world for the beauty. So I will leave you with all my blessings for your personal cultivation. May all the suffering in your life, may all the anxiety and anguish that you might be experiencing, with the power of the teachings that we profess and practice, may it bring you peace. May it bring and may it bring considerable confidence in the Dhamma. All the very best, everyone. Theruvan Saranai.
Theruvan Saranai Bante.
Teruvan Saranai, sir.
Saranai Bante. Theruvan Saranai.